All right, so Sam Rayburn's a wrap. Actually, it's a few months after, and lots happened during the season leading up. But just thinking back to Sam Rayburn, the first tournament of Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour, 2021 season. I'm coming off of just a weird year. We all experienced a weird year in 2020, and the same applied to us. In fishing, we lost a couple of tournaments. Some got moved around. It's just a strange year. I'm so glad that Major League Fishing was able to get us back out there for a couple of events when things settled down a little bit last season. But, man, I was so ready to get a full season of Bass Pro Tour in. I was really excited about the schedule, and Sam Rayburn was one of those that I was fired up about. Stage 1 Bass Pro Tour is coming up. About to pull out. Headed to Sam Rayburn in Texas. Got about a 9.5-hour drive. Got some storms today. Looks like we're gonna have to get through, but we're gonna pray hard, be safe, and hopefully we'll go out here and catch some Texas bigs this next week. So I'm fired up. Finally, Bass Pro Tour is back. Got ready to pull out from Wetumpka. We had some really bad storms that were coming. I think they were around Mississippi at the time that I was pulling out from the house, and we knew, but we had to get there that day, get there safely, because there was some really bad stuff coming through. Thank goodness we made it, and we made it to American Bait Works. All right, what's up, y'all? Just rolled up to the brand new American Bait Works facility. Got two of the big dogs hanging out over here. They've been busy. We've been talking frogs and talking new soft plastics and frogs. Look at the frogs. Look at the frogs everywhere. These don't have hooks yet. Some have the skirts on them. They've got to be trimmed. Got folks working on them over there. Here's some cool looking ones. These all scum frogs. And we got guys over here making net bait stuff. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
All right, the ones that make it happen right there. So that's your quick tour of the new American Bait Works facility. Now I got to get back on I-10, head to Sam Rayburn. All right, so we made it to Sam Rayburn safely. Made it through the storms. Made it to American Bait Works, and I got there, and everything was good. Was really thinking these fish there's still a group of fish coming into spawn. I knew they had some real warm weather, a couple of weeks before we got there. And but I still felt like there's another group of fish that's going to come into spawn. Rayburn's is so full of fish, and there's no way that major, every fish in the lake could have already spawned with that warm spell. So I'm thinking we've got probably going to have some staging fish, a few fish that have already spawned moving out, possibly a shad spawn, but more fish that are going to be coming up with this warming trend that we had coming up from practice and going into the tournament. And I realized pretty quick in practice it wasn't going to be easy. I saw a lot of beds. There were a few males still in the bed, but it was pretty obvious that they weren't just piled up. At least in the areas that I was fishing, and I ended up backing out to some little secondary type areas, some little staging areas. Offshore grass, hydrilla, some coontail. And finally in practice, I found a really a massive group of fish is what you want in our format. They were good quality fish. They were schooling some, but I was really seeing them on live scope and catching most of those on a jerk bait, just picking them out on live scope and chasing them around. It was working really good, especially the one day in practice when I found them. And so that looked really promising. So going into the first day of the tournament, I'm pretty stoked. I'm thinking, hey, I got a group of fish to work with. If they move, I can move. I think I know where they're going to head. They're either going to hit the bank, start spawning, or there's just going to be more of these post spawners that are coming out to these staging areas where I found them. And, man, it just, like it happens a lot of times in tournaments, it wasn't what I expected, and the bite got really tough. And it wasn't just me. A few guys caught them really good. Of course, Ott just slammed them. And Lucas ended up getting on some fish, started out slow, but really, got something dialed in, and just that's kind of the way Rayburn was. And that's, first day of the tournament, I found out real quick that I was going to have to move and groove, to try to get enough bites to get through and to make the cut, you know, by the end of the elimination day, I realized it's not going to take a whole lot, but we've got to be steady. We got to keep putting scoreable bass in the boat, and as long as we're doing that, we've got a chance to land on a mother lode. Elimination round, pulling in there, and you know, the place where I found them stacked up, I didn't get a bite. Made a quick little move to another place where I had found a little group, and you know, just trying to get a bite at this point, trying to get things started. And here's the first bite I got that day, and man, that was big. I believe I was throwing a jerkbait right here. You can see the depth, a bit of scattered grass. Not a giant, but it's always good to get a scoreable bite. You know, you just don't know. Any tournament you fish, you just don't know what's going to happen till you get that first bite, and that's your first clue, you know, to what might be going on that day. It's a funny thing with that jerkbait. You get them hooked kind of funny. There he goes. He came right on in. Looks like he kind of got hooked in the top of the head, so he's fighting funny. So here's another one. I had to make a move shallow. That offshore deal just wasn't happening, so we tried to go with a little wind, got a vibrating jig with a net bait baby mad pocket on the back of it right here, and just getting into some of this flooded stuff with the wind pushing in. And this was a big bite. I can't explain how important this bite was to me that day in the tournament, because at that point I knew it wasn't going to take much. But we made the knockout round. Man, I can't tell you what a grind it was in those first two rounds. You know, we got into elimination round, and you know, when I found those fish on the vibrating jig, I thought, you know, okay, I've got something else. These fish are coming shallow. I'm just going to chase the wind, cover some water, vibrating jig, catch these fish that are finishing up spawning, that are coming in to spawn, and just cover water. And looking at the weights from the first day, you know, it looked like just a few bites would get me there. And what happened was on elimination day, the bite turned on a little bit, and not only for other guys, but it did for me, and kind of in dramatic fashion. Unfortunately, I'm not real good with my cameras and stuff, and we lost the video to the elimination day. And if you were watching on Major League Fishing Live, you saw it. Just one of those days that makes Major League Fishing great, where you know, just battling and grinding all day long, and made some of the right moves there at the end, got some of the right bites, and just really blessed to sneak through and make it to the knockout round. All right, knockout round. So I go to thinking, hey, I hope I can make the cut, get a good check too. I found something late in elimination day that looked really promising, like I had a chance to make the finals. I mean, it was that good. New fish were coming in, so I get to that same area, and looking at a little patch of coontail, and we're hooked up right here on the jerkbait. And I can tell this is a different class of fish immediately. I've been catching some good quality fish here, but this was a different class of fish. I could tell really quick. To get things started. Oh man, that is so scary when they jump like that. Look at that. You would think with a bait that's got that many hooks in it that it'd be hard for them to throw, but that's just the nature of that type of bait, the jerk bait, that those fish can sling it. It's amazing. And that's why I'm so careful with them. It's just real important to take your time and really feel what that fish is doing to try to keep them pegged until you can get your hands on them. This is pretty exciting right here. At this point, this is the best fish I've caught. It just choked it too. You know, you never know how they're hooked. That one had it down the hatch. Yeah, it's. I was more excited. That doesn't come across as as well as what I was feeling inside, y'all. I mean, I was stoked because I knew, hey, these are different fish than what I was catching earlier in the week, and they're better quality. And we got a shot. Bite slowed down on that deal, so I moved in shallow to see if they were starting to come in and spawn. It was warming up. I'd already seen some empty beds earlier in the week, and I'm thinking, hey, there's some more fish coming in here, you know, and fortunately they weren't. I didn't catch them up shallow, and at this point, you know, it's a slow bite, but the quality's good. Break time. Let a couple get away. We got one big one. We got work to do. We got to catch up. See what happens in the second period. And man, the bite, it was slow. You know, it was slow. I just, but I knew if I kept grinding, you know, the beauty of score trackers, you kind of know where you stand and know what you need to get through. And got hooked up right here thinking it might be a decent fish, and I could tell real quick it wasn't quite what I was looking for. Yes, they were.
We got the spots for dinner tonight. Like the fourth one. What'd you say, Greg?
We're making a move here.
Got one pump of beantail. I gotta find them somewhere else if I'm gonna get through. Either that or pull back up there and catch another 4 or 5 pounder.
Yeah. We'll wait for you here.
I gotta let them rest.
Set back up, right?
That's right. There's just not enough of them there to keep banging on them.
Gotta let them rest. Just give them a minute to calm down, maybe reset. At this point, I know it's a grind, but I'm still in the game. I still got a shot at making the top 8 in the knockout round and moving on to the finals in the first term of the season. So it's a big deal, and it's crunch time now. Make a little move to this area where I found them in practice and see if that group's going to fire up. Hadn't seen too many boats in this area, and there just happened to be looks like maybe a local boat was up there and trying it out, and you know, wasn't too worried about that. Fish were moving around. Come back to, you know, an area that's got a little deeper water, offshore grass, and get a bite pretty quick. It's not quite what we're looking for. It's always good to pull up and get a bite on something a little bit different part of an area. You know, these fish on grass edges, they move around so much, and then we're right back on that clump of coontail after letting it rest, trying to get a good bite. We're getting later in the day, and we're hooked up. Fish is running right at me right here. You can tell it's hooked funny. It just makes you know, it's hard to describe, but when those fish are hooked up on trebles like that, especially that jerk bait, you can tell when they're hooked weird. You know, it's like you don't have as much control. They're more erratic. They're up, they're down. But we got our hands on her.
Woo! Yeah. One hook in the nose.
At this point, we know we just moved back up.
Woo! Yeah! Yeah! I'm not getting many today, but they're good ones, dude. Thank you, girl. Scary stuff. I had one little treble right in the nose. Back in my legs.
Couldn't get the feeling in my legs. I was so stoked catching that fish. But it kind of dried up after that. That was it. And other guys got on them, caught them pretty good. But it was a good tournament. Really good start to the season. Finished up 16th overall, top 20. First tournament, Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour 2021 season, and we're off to a good start.